Okay, well, yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. I just want to make sure I welcome all of our elected officials here, obviously including our magistrates and everyone, and all of our department heads that are here today. Appreciate all of you being here, and of course all of the citizens that are interested in your county government and all the services that we are providing. So just a quick note before we start, again, to check your cell phones and see if they're turned off or on vibrate or something. And this is the May 9th, 2023 Hardin County Fiscal Court regular voting meeting. So let's begin, and I'll call this meeting to order. All right, so let's start with roll call.
Squire Clem. Squire Hicks.
Yes.
Squire Muse.
Here.
Squire Pennington.
Here.
Squire Saltzman.
Here.
Squire Thompson.
Here.
Squire Whitehead.
Here.
Squire Yates.
Here.
Judge Taul.
Here. Next, we'll have our invocation by Magistrate Chris Yates and Pledge of Allegiance by Magistrate Larry Hicks. If we can stand, please.
Heavenly Father, we come before you, offering our thanks for bringing us together safely. As we prepare for this meeting, we ask that you would be with us. May our thoughts be led by you, our conversations be inspired by you. Help us to put our own agendas to the side and seek your will and outcome for this meeting. Please grant us the wisdom in times of uncertainty and clarity in times of confusion. We also ask that you continue to watch over the men and women who are fighting to protect our freedoms at home and abroad. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, just a few comments, and then we'll go over the agenda real quick. It's a little different today than usual. But again, thanks everyone for joining us today and participating. The agenda, as you can, I think we still have some copies up here if you're interested. But after I finish some comments, we'll move right on into a public hearing. After that, we will approve the minutes from the last meeting. We do have a few informational items that we'll go through, and then our department reports, presentations by Planning and Engineering and Road Department, and we have some written reports also. And then we'll have an opportunity for citizens' concerns, comments. And then today we have 4 ordinances / resolutions to go through. And before the last one, before we vote on item D, we'll go into a closed session, and then we'll come out and vote on that. Then we'll have our consent agenda and vote on those items. We also, I guess after that, we'll have the typical comments that we'll have at the end. However, today, we'll have another closed session that we'll go into, and whenever we come out of that, our last item is really just adjourning. We won't have any more business after that closed session. And that's what we've got going today. The big theme today will be focused on a presentation I'm going to have on the budget. And so today will be our first reading of that, and so that'll be one of our bigger items of the day. Okay, I guess at this time we do have a public hearing. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to the County Attorney, Jenny Oldham, to conduct this public hearing on county road aid and local government economic assistance funds.
Thank you, Judge. Today's hearing was published in the News Enterprise on April 29th, 2023, and the purpose of today's hearing is to gather public input on the county's utilization of county road aid. That's in the amount of, for county road aid, $1,929,729. Municipal road aid in the amount of $178,708.67. And the local government economic assistant fund in the amount of $215,000. So if there's anyone here who would like to provide comment on that, you can come up to the podium and we'll hear that at this time. Okay, seeing no one, that will close the hearing. Thank you, Judge.
All right, thank you. All right, next item on the agenda is to approve the Hardin County Fiscal Court April 25th minutes. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call.
Squire Hicks,
Here. Yes.
Squire Muse,
Yes.
Squire Pennington,
Yes.
Squire Saltzman,
Yes.
Squire Thompson,
Yes.
Squire Whitehead,
Yes.
Squire Yates,
Yes.
Judge Taul.
Yes, motion passes. Okay, let's move on into informational items. And today we have the honor to have Araya Clark as a guest today. And she's going to talk some about poll worker recruitment and advocacy. So if you wouldn't mind come up to the mic and fill us in on exciting things that you've done. You can tell us a little bit about yourself if you don't mind.
Judge, would you like me to take it?
Yeah, you help her out.
My name's Richard Rowland. I teach 8th grade social studies at Taul. For the last 3 years, our school has participated in the Secretary of State's slogan competition, which he offers to middle school students in the state of Kentucky. For the last 3 years, JTL has won this competition. However, this is the first year that the county clerk's office has reached out to us with the potential of using said slogan for the purposes of the November General. And that is what we're looking forward to most. What was your slogan?
My slogan was fill your role, join the poll.
And the Secretary of State's intention with this was that we need to recruit poll workers. As Mr. Smith has already pointed out, we're going to increase polling locations. We need workers. There's no greater opportunity for this fiscal court or your all's offices than this right here than to use this slogan. And I hope that we're able to continue our partnership with the county clerk.
All right, well, thank you very much. You have anything else you want to add? No, it's a fantastic slogan, and I'll kind of turn it over to our clerk here, Ron Smith.
Well, Araya, I am so proud of you. I know your mom's proud of you, your teacher's proud of you, your whole community's proud of you. To carry on a tradition of keeping J.T. Alton in the state spotlight is a good thing for our community. And yes, we're gonna use your slogans so often, people will remember it more than the slogans for Coke and Nike and all that. You're gonna be right up there with them. But the fiscal court and I have a presentation we'd like to make to you, if that's okay. And I'm gonna read this while I've got the microphones, because you may not be able to, so it's picked up down here. So this is on behalf of Hardin County, Kentucky, established 1792. In grateful recognition of your continuing service and support to Hardin County voters, let it be known that Araya Clark is hereby given the honorary title of Hardin County Election Ambassador.
All right. right, so next on the agenda is the very exciting presentation I put together for the budget. So grab your seats and get ready, okay? Thank you all. All right, so again, the purpose for this presentation is to present a summary of this proposed budget. Our mission, just just to remind, I guess, a reminder for everyone, is to maximize all available resources to provide well-planned, adequately resourced, professionally executed public programs, infrastructure, and services to county citizens. Just to give you a little bit of a feel for what the process has looked like, it's we've got this timeline that is required of us by the Commonwealth of Kentucky. So we have moved through this so far to until today. By April 28th, we actually issued the proposed budget. And that's got the wrong dates there. I just saw that. Oops. But that should be 2023-2024 budget. And then today we've had our public hearing, and now we're going to have a first reading of the budget ordinance here in a little while. And as you can see, there's a few more items on there for tomorrow, and then our next, if things go well, we'll have our second reading and final reading of the budget ordinance on May 23rd, our next meeting. And then, of course, then we just submit it to the Kentucky Department of Local Government. So to give you a feel for the timeline. The process itself, I think it was different for everyone involved. It was my first budget, so it was and it has been and will continue to be a learning experience as I try to understand all these line items that Lisa throws at me and numbers that she has. So I've hopefully come a little ways, and but we've got a long way to go there for my training. But I believe that we have utilized a team approach. Transparency has been a target for this budget. So we started out in March, and we had all the departments submit and discuss their basic budget proposals. A few budgets had some extra things in there for this year, and we basically asked and pulled those things out. So we just wanted a very basic operating budget from each of the departments. And we ended up with that, and we compiled all of those. And one of the things that we did do is we made a list of all the wants, all the things that the different departments thought that we needed to continue to improve our services. And so in March and April timeframe, our finance team, they compiled all the department budgets for initial review, which was a big job. And then in the last month, we had the finance team, they compiled the first version of the proposed budget. We had a presentation at the finance team that presented to the finance committee, and all the magistrates were there for that, I believe, and we even had multiple times for discussion, revision by some special called meetings on the 24th of April. We also presented to all the department heads just to make sure everybody was on board with where we were, and discussions around that. And then finally, on the 28th of April, I presented and provided copies of this proposed budget to the Finance Committee for discussion and questions, and so we had a final meeting on that. So that kind of brings us up to date. I just wanted to say that I believe it's been a great job by my staff people that have been a big part of this. Obviously, our treasurer and her team have been fantastic and worked diligently to pull all this together. The magistrates have all worked hard, I think, in looking at this budget and asking questions and coming up with new ideas. So department heads, the same thing, and others involved in it. So it's been a team effort, and we've brought it up to this point. I'm not saying that we've all agreed on everything about it, but I don't think that there's any questions that that are out there that anybody doesn't know about. I mean, there's not been any you know, things that have been tried to hidden or anything like that. So it's all out there for everybody to see, and I think it's been a good process overall, and I'm just very proud of everybody that's been a part of it. So I'm just going to give you an overview of this budget. I'll go through the revenue by source. We'll look at expenses by department. I'll have a final conclusion, and then there is an appendix at the end that I probably won't go over just because of time. That just gets into some of the personnel costs. So the vision of this was to propose a balanced budget of $59,765,608 for fiscal year 23-24, utilizing a transparent team approach. Team Hardin. That's what we're trying to accomplish here, working together. All right, so the overview, just to give you a bottom line, what we ended up with here was looking at revenues that are coming in each year. So these are recurring revenues, operating revenue, if you will. And then we looked at expenses, and these are ongoing annual, monthly, daily expenses that are hitting our budget. And of course, we just subtract the two, and thankfully we are $227,500 in the green, okay? Black, if you will. So, so that's a good thing. In order to do that, we are using the annual hospital cell payout of $2.6 million, and that has helped us to balance this budget. We were also able to include a 3% cost of living in that budget, and we also made some adjustments to the coroner's office salaries, all part of that ongoing operating budget. Before we added the annual hospital sale, we were $1.7 million in the red. So just to give you idea of what that did for us. With this remaining $227,000, it's going to pay for a portion of one-time investments, which are listed here. They add up to $752,000 for one-time purchase investments, including 3 ambulances. We have EMS improvement initiative that we are going to be working on, and we may very well need a consultant to help us through that, so that money is in there. County Emergency Services study, something that I've talked about before, which is mainly that we are going to take a very large picture of the whole county, all of the emergency services, ambulance services, and fire services for the county, and trying to understand what a good strategy is for going forward over the next 5 years. So we may need some help with that study, so we've put some money in there to pay for that if need be. Coroner office transport vehicle is included. We are starting to feel the growth in this camp, in this building, so we may need to start to look forward at some growth of this campus, and so there's some money in there to help us to do that if we need to proceed with that. We have a broadband services need study that I found out that we really don't have a good strategy there, so or a good understanding really of where we're at in the county for our broadband services. So some other counties have utilized some companies to help them do that. County web page upgrades for improved communication and such, and some kennel equipment for our animal shelter, a new drone that we utilize frequently. So we put all those together, $752,000. We take out that $227,000, and we end up with about $525,000 that we're going to pull out of our cash reserves to help pay for some of these investments. On the positive note, we do not have any debt, okay? So that's a good thing. And so that's, we are at zero. All these things are paid off. Some challenges, some observations that has been working through this and trying to understand how we're going forward. A little bit about how we end up in, you know, a bit of a stretch here on our budget. But one thing to note is that our budget that we're in right now, this budget has been amended multiple times and is currently utilizing cash reserves to balance it. So we already were, without using the hospital annual money, we were already pushing the limits of what we could do. We do have a lot of inflation, as we all feel and know very precisely. I went out and found several places that indicated that we have an average of 8% inflation rate in 2022. A year earlier, it was pushing 5%, and so far, year to date, it's about 6%. So, pretty tough times to keep up with just trying to do your usual stuff, much less make any improvements or address any growth. There have been no increase in operating revenue, no tax increases for the last 2 years. Significant need to increase the pay for employees in 2022 and 2023 to reduce the turnover and keep up with the inflation. We've had some expense from our jail and from the sheriff's offices that have increased. And of course, our own departments, including EMS, have seen their expenses increased. And you know, you start to look at fuel and maintenance and personnel, all these things are adding up. Just a note here to give you a picture. I believe Judge Barry has used this chart before, and so just a reminder of the history of property tax, real property tax rates. You can see that there were 5 increases back in 2016 through 2020 of using the 4% growth rate. The last 2 years is they've used the compensating rate. And you can kind of see what those rates look like. Just a note, I mentioned these inflation rates. I took this from this one source that's listed on the slide, but there were several of them that I found that were the same inflation rates. So whenever you take those inflation rates and you overlay, which is the line on the graph, and you can see the increase inflation rates there, and then you place what our property tax history has been over the same amount of time, you see some increase in property tax rate, but not obviously nearly at the rate that we see the inflation. So these are some things and some what you would say are some challenges ahead of us. I just wanted to throw in one example, and of course, Dwight Morgan, our road supervisor, is very familiar with the fact that asphalt, like everything else, is going up. So the same amount of money that we're applying to asphalt and to repaving and these types of things doesn't go as far, right? We just can't put as many miles of asphalt down. So just to give you a picture of what that's looked like over the last 7 or 8 years. So this is basically a summary here of where this 59 million plus. We have 24 million in our general fund, and I'll break this down. Our road department looking at 4.6 million. You can see there the jail at close to 10 million, solid waste 5 million. E911, 3 million about, and then we've got some federal state grants that are coming in. I'll explain that a little bit, but that's pushing 12 million, and that kind of covers the big parts of it. You do see an industrial tax fund there that's budgeted. That's for the part of the county that's in the Glendale area. has a taxing district there now. So we are predicting about $400,000 to come in from those taxes. All right, so what I'm calling gross expenses, these are with just looking at it from a top-level view. Our general funds at about $30,000 are broken up into these different departments, of which you probably can't read. I know I can't from here on the back screens, but I thankfully have a screen right here I can look at. But EMS is our largest department at $9 million of expenses. Solid waste is right in there, about $5 million, and on down the list. So, you know, lots of departments, and you add them all up, it's about $29 million. We do have some departments that have revenues, and the revenues can either be some fees that we charge, or it can be grants that are coming in to offset these some of these expenses. So we, as you can see here, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of these listed, and all but the last one, we aren't able to cover our expenses. So we have a net revenue, if you will, for instance, the emergency medical services. We have over $9 million expenses, but we have 6.3 in revenue. So we're basically $2.9 million deficit for that department. Our detention center is pretty close to that at 2.7 million, 2.8 million. Road department about 1 million that we are subsidizing with some of the funds that are actually coming from the bottom item, which thankfully we have in our solid waste disposal landfill. We actually make $1.8 million. So that's part of our revenue. And we use a good chunk of that, a little over $1 million, to help fund some asphalt and things for our road department. Okay, and just a note there that animal care and control, you know, is about $1 million that we're paying for that. E911, the reason it's zero is because there's a separate tax for that, and that tax covers all their expenses. So if I look at, take a second here and look at what our actual budget revenues and net expenses look like. And, you know, whenever I first looked at this, I said, oh, you know, $59 million, good grief, man, that's a lot of money. You know, we'll be able to do about anything we want, $59 million. And then I started finding out that that's not all revenue. I mean, we call it revenue, but a lot of it is grants coming in, passing through, paying for things that maybe one-time types of revenue, or you know, it's just a little bit misleading. So I wanted to get to the bottom of figuring out what are the revenues that actually come in and pay for the ongoing operating expenses of the county. Okay, and with Lisa's help, thank goodness, and Vicki and others that have been a part of that, we're able to come up with this analysis here where we look at what we have up at the top on the revenue side of property taxes. We have budgeted right about $8 million for that, and some other taxes that you see there. And then we have our solid waste revenue, again, thankfully, $1.8 million. We have our HMH funds, our hospital funds, at $2.6 million. And then we have some other miscellaneous types of things that I have listed in the box below that add up to $1.9 million. And then, like I said before, starting out, we had cash reserves that we needed to pull out of to pay for some of these one-time investments of $525,000 as part of this budget. And so then we're using this amount of money to pay for all of the items on the right-hand side that are basically our net expenses. So as I said before, we had on EMS, we have about $9 million of total expenses, but we had about, $6.5 million or whatever of revenue. So we subtract those two and we get this almost $3 million deficit. And then you work your way down, just got them listed in order of amount. And so the top, 6 or so, all $1 million or more for each one of those, including our public library at $1.1 million. Like I said, we're subsidizing our road with $1 million there, and then the sheriff's department, the jail, EMS. So, and then you just work your way down, animal control, all the way down to the county clerk there at $150,000. So you just add all those up, and you come out with about that same amount. So that's really, I think, a good picture of about 19, let's just call it $20 million of that $60 million that is really driving our budget. Okay, so that's, and I'll have a slide here that shows about how much of that is driven by our taxes and fees, which is next. So all this is a pie chart basically showing that 65% of these operating revenues are coming from taxes and fees, and you can see the breakout by some of the other funds, some of the other sources that we have for revenue that we're utilizing. Just a few, overview comments that I wanted to throw in there, just mainly for information to see what's included in the budget. Already talked about it's about $60 million total revenue budget. It's balanced with annual recurring expenses paid with annual recurring revenue, including about $2.6 million annual revenue from a hospital sale to make it all balance. We have a 3% employee cost of living increase in addition to the step and grade increases. That gives us a total, for some people, might see a total of 5% increase in their salary next year. There will be plenty of people that, because of the way this system works, they get another 0.5%, so it would be maybe 3.5% for some people too, so it kind of varies. Our EMS, our ambulance equipment upgrades of 3 ambulances, and we had 1 remount in the basic budget, so a total of about $600,000 for the equipment improvements that we desperately need in that department. 2.7 to supplement the county sheriff, $150,000 funding to supplement the county clerk's office, $688,000 for election expenses, $593,000 to help fund the county attorney. We have $2 million in state road aid. We have $684,000 in supplemental road and bridge funds. A little over $1 million for asphalt and concrete roads. This is down from about $5 or $6 million in this year, and that's all because of we were able to utilize ARPA funds, American Recovery
Plan Act.
Huh?
I think it's American Recovery Plan Act.
Plan Act. Okay. Sorry, I forgot what that was. But anyway, that money came in and helped us a lot this year. We've been able to pave a bunch of roads because of that. And but now this next year we're kind of back to reality of a little over $1 million. $766,000 to fund the county coroner. $352,000 funding volunteer fire departments. Like I said before, $1 million for the public library, $1.2 million for county animal care and control, $20,000 for Hardin County Schools Education and Community TV, $50,000 for circuit and district drug court, and $50,000 to support Rocket Docket. $254,000 to support PVA, $325,000 planning and development, and $400,000 to support engineering services for the county. We do have still have a dead stock removal and disposal of $50,000, $94,000 for a litter abatement program, and we do spend quite a bit of money for our recycling program in the county of over $200,000. The jail medical contract is $1.3 million and $900,000 for the jail food and meals contract. All right, so that kind of give you a feel for some of the specific line items and things that we're paying for. Again, this is a little bit of a comparison from previous year, and you just see a few numbers that add up to another $4 million basically for this year versus the current year that we're in. Revenue, the tax and fee portion of our revenue, as you can see, is total about 21%. A little over 16% of that is from property taxes only. Expenses, this is looking at our gross expenses, again, not taking out any kind of revenue by any of the departments, but just wanted to show you the breakdown of the 59 million. General funds, about 30 million of that go to these departments, and that's the money that they're spending is going through their departments. Again, the same ones there kind of at the top that we've already mentioned. Restricted funds, these are funds and areas that we get money in that is restricted to pay for those particular departments. So the jail makes up 10 million of that, road department and E911, and that makes up about $18 million of our $60 million budget. And I guess I should mention that federal and state grants make up the rest of that at pushing $12 million, of which a big chunk of that is ARPA money that's coming in, and 9 million of that will be for water projects that have already started at our two water districts. So just to conclude, I've got 3 slides and we'll be done, okay? Budget conclusion, we've got a goal here to stabilize and plan for the future. I've kind of broken these down into kind of some separate categories. Safety and emergency, we've got obviously some equipment upgrades as I've already talked about. For growth, we're looking at emergency services strategy and consulting services if needed. We have coroner upgrades and salaries and a truck. And we have services for office space strategy if we need to pursue that this coming year. For BOSC, for Blue Oval, don't want to forget about them for sure. And we know we've got some emergency services that will be expected in that area of the county, some upgrades that we'll need to address. And so we've got some strategy that we need to develop there and some engineering costs associated with that. That's all in the budget. Safety and roads, bridges, we've been looking at some engineering processes and prioritizing some improvement solutions there and trying to figure out some better ways to do some things with and stretching our dollars in our roads and bridges, which have already been quite a bit of success, especially with the way that we handle bridges and the way that those are being done. I know at least one bridge, right, Dwight, that was done much cheaper than it ever had been done before. And so we're still looking at that, utilizing that process in the future. Annual right-of-way mowings. We had a lot of feedback from my understanding, and people were telling me last year that 2 mowings was not enough. This is contracted out to a company, and so we have increased in the budget to 3 mowings out in the county. Process improvements is part of this budget, something that is near and dear to my heart, and so we're looking at our emergency medical service, our ambulance service, as a 10% reduction in the deficit, or approximately. And we will use a consultant service to help us if we need to help us understand where we can take out some of these costs or add to the revenue or both this coming year. So that's in the budget, about $200,000 worth of savings there. Our people, obviously with an 8% inflation rate, and probably right now we're looking at 6% for this year. You know, a 3% probably isn't enough, but it's, you know, it's a stab at trying to stay on top of it. So 3% cost of living for our people. Communication transparency, like I mentioned before, improving, upgrading our website and maybe an app to help with that. Broadband expansion, we know that there's people in our county that still have very slow speeds, and so we need to understand what those speeds are and able to apply for grants and try to get as much money as we can to help us expand out to every citizen in our county. And then finally, animal care, an upgrade to some kennel equipment to help that department. So that basically concludes what I wanted to present today, that I hope is a decent summary of the budget. And at this point, for the magistrates anyway, if there's any questions that you want to address right now, or we'll have an opportunity when we vote on the budget, if there's, you know, after we have started that process, that you can also bring up something. But if there's something that was confusing or something that you didn't know, or anything.
We have cash reserves after this budget, right?
Oh, yes.
In the amount of,
We have before this budget, we have about $11 million. We're going to take about about $500,000 out of it. So we'll still have $10.5 million. Is that a good statement? Approximately. Lisa, of course, wants to be exact and, you know, 10 point, you know, exactly, but just approximating.
thank you. I really appreciate the work that has gone into this. Lisa and you have been very meticulous and worked very hard. I'm pleased with the fact that we have been able to provide for some increase in pay for our employees. That's one of the most important things.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. It really has been a team effort to make this budget come together.
That 3% is an increase for the employees.
That's correct.
It's not fiscal court.
No.
I just want to make that clear because I know I'm going to get a phone call. Hey, you all voted for a pay raise. We are not voting for a pay raise for fiscal court.
No, that'd have to be a different line item. We'd have to discuss that. But you're correct. That does not include.
That can only be done the year before election.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Jeannie would get on it. She would tell us that, so we would stay out of trouble. Any other questions or comments at this time? All right, thank you all for that, bearing with me through all of that. And next we'll go on to our department and office reports. We have presentation by planning. Adam King will provide that. Hey, Adam, I would throw it, but. I was a soccer player, okay, fair enough.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I've got March and April reports from the Planning Commission. So we'll start out today with the Board of Adjustment. So first up, this was a variance request out on Acres School Road in southwestern Hardin County. Essentially, wanted to shift some property lines there so that the property lines followed well-established fences. So on the left-hand side of your screen, in the yellow, that was the property line, but the fences followed the red lines. So again, the property exceeded our width-to-length ratio, so that had to get approval from the Board of Adjustment. Next, this was also another variance ratio request. This one's on Boone Road. It's an upcoming auction. We had 3 small lots there along the road and then a landlocked tract in the back. So I think it would best serve the interest of everybody and the future buyers. We did a variance there so that landlocked tract got frontage out onto Boone Road. and then the existing double-wide manufactured home, merge some of those lots together. This was what we call a permanent accessory dwelling, essentially for a carriage house. Pete Edlin, out Edlin Lane off Bardstown Road. So again, big 282-acre farm, has an existing home there, but wanted to build a guest house for when family comes into town. 1,300 square foot, matches the existing home as far as the stone and the cedar shake siding. This has been an option to the Board of Adjustment since 2009, and we've approved over 50 of these now. This was an amended conditional use permit for Levi Yoder. He has a sawmill operation out on Millerstown Road, just west of Upton. So again, Mr. Miller's done a new development plan and actually going to put most of the sawmill there in a new building. He was granted 3 additional years. Looking at some items that went before the Planning Commission. So if I've ever had one that a picture's worth 1,000 words, there on the left, this is the ashes out on Gilead Church Road, and you can see Blue Oval now towering over their home. So essentially Blue Oval's their front yard. And they were rezoning from rural residential to the C2 general commercial zone. Bottom left there shows the new Gilead Church Road right-of-way plans. So that's going to take quite a bit of their front yard as well. Again, going to be a theme today of zone changes in Glendale. This was Charlotte Crawley. We are on 222 on the north side, and she had a 1-acre lot, rezoning it from rural residential to convenience commercial C1. Again, appreciate Nick flying the drone for us there on the top left. Bottom left, that shows the new Kentucky 222 right-of-way plans. So this 1-acre lot will actually be at the connection point between new Kentucky 222 and then existing Kentucky 222. And then yet another one. So this is Virginia Couch. We're back down on Gilead Church Road. She is about a 1-acre lot there at the railroad tracks. So there, the top left, she has the ECTC Blue Oval SK Training Center being constructed right behind the home. Also the large KU substation. And then the right photo there, this potential overpass, or at least the realignment of Gilead Church Road, will potentially end up taking this home. So they also were rezoning to commercial. Looking at the various land use applications we processed in March and April, things are quite busy. 6 conditional use permits, 5 development plans, 5 zone changes, 15 subdivision plats, and 4 variances. Looking at the number of plats and lots recorded, at the end of April, we are at 21 plats. That's slightly down from 2022 at this time when we were at 28 plats. Likewise with lots, we're at 18 net lots for the year, a little bit down from last year at 20. Permits, things are definitely picking up with the weather improving. 49 building permits in March, 42 in April. Greg, our electrical inspector, is very busy with 145 permits in March and 104 in April. And then single-family dwellings, we're at 29 for the year. That's down from last year at 35. We were at 55 in 21. We were at 47 in 20. Can share with you, though, that what this doesn't include is duplexes, and we have issued 4 new duplex permits. Those are all near Glendale and Meadowview subdivision off West Roots Creek. So not too bad. Inspections, again, with the better weather comes more inspections. 25 footings in March, 34 in April. Comprehensive plan update is still moving along. We held our 5th open house at Woodland Elementary. Had about 25 in attendance, so many of the magistrates appreciate you guys coming out. And got some more feedback. Again, the focus of this one was on the northern end of the county. So Radcliffe, Vine Grove, West Point. And then lastly, to end things off, May is National Building Safety Month for the International Code Council. So that's my staff there with our hard hats. And just want to let everybody know you need a building permit, you need an electrical permit if you're in the unincorporated part of the county. Depending on the size of your structure, that may just be a zoning permit with no fees and no inspections, just paperwork. Make sure you comply with your setbacks, you're not in the floodplain, et cetera. And then also, it could just be an agricultural permit. So depending on the use of the structure and the size of the acreage, could just be agricultural, which would again just be paperwork. But just come see us and we're happy to help. That's all I got.
Any questions? Looks like you're getting busy, and I don't think it's going to slow down. Okay, good job, thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Ellen.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, next up, engineering, and Stephanie Givens will present that.
Good afternoon, Judge and Magistrates.
Good afternoon.
This will be the engineering, solid waste, and code enforcement updates for March and April. The first slide here is the 2023 erosion sediment control for March and April on the inspections. We had 158 in March and 145 in April. Of those, you can see the comparison for the last 5 years. Year to date, we are up to 578 for the 2023. For the notice of violations and stop work orders for March and April, we had 0 of both in March, and we had 1 notice of violation in April and 0 stop work orders in April. Our annual notice of violations and stop work orders for year to date for 2023, we've had 2 notice of violations and 0 stop work orders. Public concerns, issues that we normally may or may not get some calls on will be drainage, erosion concerns, floodplain permitting, new construction, and sinkholes. Of those public response calls so far, for March we had 4, and for April we had 2. Year to date makes 12 calls so far for 2023. On our rainfall for 2023 in March, it was pretty wet. We had 7.44 inches, and in April we had 2.42 inches. The rainfall average versus actual for 2023, for March it was 4.59 average, 7.44 was the actual, 4.23 for April average, and 2.42 for the actual. So we were a lot higher in March and not too far off in the April year-to-date rainfalls. Code enforcement and for March and April activities. For the month of March, we had 13 cases received that were new, 10 cases closed within the month, 28 outstanding cases. And as of April, we had 14 additional new cases reported, 9 cases closed within the month, and 40 outstanding cases as of April 30th. On our shredding events so far, for for March, we had 16 and 16 as far as vehicles and bags that were brought in. April, we had 19 vehicles and 21 bags. In May, we had a lot more people show up for this. We had 42 vehicles with 46 bags. So on this shredding event year to date so far, we've had 110 vehicles with 122 bags of shredding being done. On our recycling totals, for March, we had 34 trailer runs that were picked up, and we had 30 trailer runs in April. And you can see on the chart there, for the month of March, our total tons recyclable is 56.13 tons. And for the month of April is 55.85 tons that is being brought into those recycled trailers. The annual MS4 permit compliance was submitted. It was submitted on April the 12th, and April 17th was our deadline. Some of the things within that report was Fiscal Court was issued small municipal separate storm sewer systems permit. That was in 2003. We're currently operating under the 2018 permit. This is required by the permit to submit an annual report to the Kentucky Division of Water. And some of the items that are located within that document is public education, public involvement, illicit discharge detection, construction site runoff, post-construction management, and good housekeeping. And of course, I had to put the little thing at the bottom for our Deputy Judge Vicky, if it's on the ground, it's in the water. That's her very favorite saying.
She's right.
Part of the annual report for solid waste and recycling as well has deceased farm animals. The removal program for 2022, we had 273 animals total. That's comparatively to 238 in 2021. The tire collection event, we had 57,536 passenger tire equivalents. The next event for this, for Hardin County, will not be until 2025. However, I did search out, and this year in the fall, there will be a tire collection event in Jefferson County and Bullitt counties, and those are open to anybody within the state of Kentucky, not just per county. Our e-scrap collection for 2022 was 55,738 pounds, or 27.8 tons. Household hazardous waste for last year was 46,566 pounds, or 23.2 tons. We have an upcoming event for household hazardous waste on August the 12th of this year, and it will be at Matulsa on North Black Branch Road. And the shredding event so far, we had 150 bags. For 2022, additional information was a rinse and return pesticide container program. And there was 2.75 tons of collected containers. These containers are recycled back into more pesticide containers. And this is a cooperative effort with Hardin County Farm Bureau, Hardin County Cooperative Extension Service, and a local ag group, crop product retailers. So it's a very successful event as well. For upcoming events, we have our next shredding event on Thursday, June 1st from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. and that will be at the Hardin County Road Department at 501 Bacon Creek Road. We have a free dump day coming up, actually this Saturday, May 13th, and that will be from 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Pearl Hollow landfill, where you can bring your items or truckloads full of trash that you would like to get rid of at one time, and it will be no cost to the citizen. You must be a Hardin County citizen in order to participate. And that's about all I have. Any questions?
I have no questions, but I just want to point out, so your shredding event is 1 hour, right?
Correct.
And last month you ran 42 cars through there in 1 hour.
Correct.
That's all I wanted to point out.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
When you say 50 equivalent to 57,000, or however many
Passenger tires.
good Lord.
That's just tires on regular standard cars and trucks. We did have a huge amount collected for semi tires and dump truck tires, things of that nature, tractor tires, because we take those as well. They didn't have an exact count on that like they did the passenger equivalents, because those go to a different entity when they're recycled.
So do we sell those, or?
It goes to a contract holder that holds the contract for the entire state. It's Liberty Tire Company. And that's why I pointed out that the other two events in this fall are Jefferson County and Bullitt, because that's a state-paid event. So the state takes care of all of the costs for that. They just hold it in each county with all of counties in the Kentucky area. So since it's being paid for by the state, you don't have to live in that county to take it. So I don't know for sure if 57,000 was just Hardin County, but I will tell you the majority of that I'm pretty sure was.
Right.
Yes. And that event's done every 3 years in every county in the state. Any other questions?
Any other questions or comments? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is Road Department. Dwight Morgan will present.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I present the March and April report for the road department. Encroachment permits for the year are down a little bit. Our road signs,
new replacement is up. Repair is up just a little bit. Other, we're down on that somewhat. Some of that other would be some of the things that he does are traffic counts. So we had one road in particular down at Upton that we had some issues with speed and the amount of traffic on it. It's unbelievable the amount of dump trucks that's going in and out of that quarry at this time. There's about, I think there was like 500 in 24-hour period. So there's a lot of traffic on that road. It's really starting to show the wear and tear. Daily work activities. You can see those up there. As you all are aware, March came in like a lion. It's supposed to go out like a lamb, but that's never happened. So we're still dealing with wind, and we had a lot of damage. There was about 140 loads of debris that was taken off to our old landfill for disposal. So our crews have been very busy. Cross tiles and driveway replacements, we've been busy with those, mainly on the cross tiles, not so much on the driveway. We do have some that we've been doing. Asphalt patching, those are tiles that have been replaced. They've settled for a period of time, and we go back and patch over top those with asphalt. So, and some of those are probably from this winter when we couldn't get asphalt, where we've gone back and done the patching over the top of those before Scotty comes in and repaves. Paving for March and April, we've got about 60 roads listed here so far. To date, we're a little over 60 miles, which is a huge number for our department. I think to date is probably the largest amount of roads that we've ever repaved, and we're still doing that. So we still have some money, and we're still repaving. Scotty's has been very good to work with this spring. They've been very busy, been very active. Chainsaw Safety Clinic we hosted April the 17th through the 21st. It was in conjunction with the UK College of Engineering, their technology and transfer program. Many of you have the opportunity to take those training courses to get your hours. That goes to your magistrates hourly, yearly work that you do. So the person that puts this class on, he and his wife travel across the country. They do about 40 states. His name is Tim Ard. And we sent 4 employees this year. Last year, I think there was roughly 14. Now, our whole department has been through the safety training class. It's a 3-day class. There's just a lot of information that is given out during the class. A lot of safety, mostly safety tips on falling trees. Some of the big things for our department. A lot of this doesn't happen during the daytime; it's at night. So it becomes 10 times worse when you're out of a night. Lighting is an issue. Sometimes you got to take the scene and look over that and make sure that you're safe to begin with. There's no power lines in those fallen trees, so I think everybody that's gone through this class would tell you that the gentleman that puts it on does an excellent job. We get a lot of pointers on things that I never even knew about chainsaws. So he's
He's been doing this for about 45 years. He's been an owner-operator of his own business. He's worked for Steel, the chainsaw company. Also Husqvarna. He's been their field training manager. And now he just travels around the country training utility companies, cities, counties, and state agencies on chainsaw safety. So to Tim and his wife, I thank them for what they do. Any questions? I would like to give a shout out to one of our employees. He had surgery yesterday, and if he's watching, I just want to say hello to Bruce and Godspeed. His wife, Cindy, works for our detention center here in the county, so we have two wonderful county employees, and our prayers are with you, buddy. Any questions? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so there were written reports, Animal Control by Mike Nutt, Emergency Management, Joey Scott, and Planning. Also, I guess we've already seen that one. So, anybody have any questions or anything about the written reports? All right, so we'll move on then to citizens' concerns or comments. And I believe we had at least one gentleman here that would like to say something. Mayor.
For the time. Mayor Cerisi from West Point, in case you don't know that. West Point's in Hardin County, in case you didn't know that.
Sure it is. Good afternoon, Mayor.
I know this is a thankless job, and I just want to come down here and say thank you. Every department that I've worked with in my short tenure has just been great. The 911 people, the solid waste folks, animal control saves our lives, county clerks keeping us straight, and now Hardin County Sheriff's even trying to help us out with police patrols. I just want to say thank you to the county. We're a little bitty city in a great big county, and you guys are doing great work for us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate that, Mayor. Anyone else? All right. So let's move on then, and we have 4 items to vote on today before we get to the consent agenda. The first item is a first reading of ordinance number 332, series 2023, fiscal year 2023-24 budget. And so do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. Any discussion?
Judge, I'd just like to make a little comment here. This is your budget. I don't agree with using the legacy funds to balance our budget, but I would like to take this opportunity right now to discuss my feelings on the legacy funds. Legacy funds are the monies either in the account or payments still coming in from the sale of Hardin Memorial Hospital. The term legacy fund was established by our prior fiscal court because they wanted Hardin Memorial Hospital's legacy to live on in Hardin County by funding special projects to benefit the health and wellness of this great county. It was not their intent to squander the legacy funds by giving raises, buying ambulances, coroner's vehicles, and paying for all of the other services that we are already required to do. I think we are setting future courts up for failure by relying on the legacy fund to pay for these services. If we use this money year after year to balance a budget, what will that court do in 20 years when that money stops coming in? If we grow dependent on this money, it will be extremely difficult for them to find over $2 million to balance our out-of-control budgets. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comment?
My comment is agreement with Magistrate Saltzman's assessment of the situation with $10.5 million in the cash reserve, and for us to take from a legacy fund that had been set aside. It's just, in my thinking, wrong. It sends a signal that for the future. Unless we rely on those funds, we will need to increase revenue, and the only way that I'm aware of currently for that is increase in taxes. And because of that, I do not feel good about proceeding with the budget as it is.
Well, one of the reasons why we voted on this the other day, and most of us voted to not give that money to the hospital for YMCA at this point, but my recognition is we're just talking about that 1 year. We're not saying we're going to use that next year or the year after that. It was this year. So, you know, I understand you all speaking against that because that's the way you voted the last time. So, but we're not talking about spending that money to balance the budget year after year after year. Hopefully we won't have to.
Okay. Any other comments?
Currently we don't have to.
Yeah, I'll just make a comment that, you know, it wasn't my intent to utilize those funds, but to me, it's just a, you know, mathematical reality. I mean, this is the operating budget that we have for the services of this county, and we either take it from a revenue that's coming in on an annual basis, that's coming from the sale of the hospital, or we take it out of cash reserves, okay? So it's one of the two, or we scale back on our services in the county, okay? So, and as I was trying to show in the presentation that I made, that we are in a position right now where we're seeing high inflation, and we have not seen any significant increase in revenue from property taxes now for years. So at some point, there's a reckoning, okay? There's a reckoning. You're going to have to figure out how to continue to offer the services that we have right now in this county at increased expense rate. You know, we're in inflationary time right now, so the same amount of service is costing more and more money. And so as that cost goes up and we don't have any extra revenue, eventually they cross, which they have, and now we have to come to the reality of the fact that we need to have additional revenue or we cut back on services. And you know, those are decisions we're going to have to make in the future. This budget gets us through next year. We did have to take some money, including the hospital money, and some additional money out of our cash reserves to make it work. And it's not going to get easier. The county is going to grow, and growth costs money. So we are going to have to figure this out as we go forward, and I am very optimistic that we will. We are going to figure it out. And but it's going to take us all working together to do that.
Judge, a couple more things I'd like to point out. We're debt-free. We don't have payments that we're making. And that's a good position to be in, which should allow us to have a lot more funds than we would have had otherwise. We also need to look at every possible opportunity without having to look at property taxes to increase revenue. The recent action by the legislature in Frankfurt to put a moratorium on annexation allows for some time, and hopefully within the next year that situation will be addressed, and there may be some possibility for funds that could come through occupational tax rather than having it all go to Elizabethtown. We need to face that. We need to take a stand on that. We do need to prevent increases in property taxes if possible, and at the same time fight for equitable revenue as is available across the state in approximately 100 counties, they have this possibility. 20 of us, one of which is Hardin, does not have that because of a pre-existing law that occurred in 1968. That may be peripheral and not to the point, but keep that in mind, please, people. We need to take every measure that we can to assure that we have access to funds that other counties do. That could be part of the reason that at this point, Hardin County has the lowest property tax rate of any, and we've worked hard to do that, but that could be helped with some assurance of funds from other sources. So I urge us all to keep that in mind, work with legislators, look at revising the law that is totally unfair to Hardin County.
Okay, any other comments? All right, so hearing none, let's go ahead and vote and have a roll call.
Squire Hicks?
Yes.
Squire Muse?
Yes.
Squire Pennington?
Yes.
Squire Saltzman?
Yes.
Squire Thompson?
No.
Squire Whitehead?
Yes.
Squire Yates?
Yes.
Judge Taul?
Yes, motion passes.
Why are we voting on the first reading? Am I confused?
It's different with city and county.
Is it? Okay. Yeah, so am I.
We'll get a vote again here next.
Well, I've just never voted on the first reading,
I
that's
know,
why I was like.
it's different.
this is
Yeah.
kinda weird.
Different operations.
Jenny's got us under control.
All right, well,
She would have let us know, I think.
I was,
You're our city boy.
I know, I'm just,
City boy.
I'm learning.
All right, thank you. The next item, B, is reading and adoption of ordinance number 333, series 2023. It's annual standing order to pre-approved recurring expenses. Just to note that, as you've seen in the packet, that these are mostly property and liability insurance for all the departments. I've got it here in front of me here, but there's 4 line items here. For instance, fire departments, liability insurance, property insurance, things that we cover for them. And there's some grant payouts and just a bunch of miscellaneous things that are part of that. So, do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Squire Hicks?
Yes.
Squire Muse?
Yes.
Squire Pennington?
Yes.
Squire Saltzman?
Yes.
Squire Thompson?
Yes.
Squire Whitehead?
Yes.
Squire Yates?
Yes.
Judge Taul?
Yes, motion passes. Item C is a second reading and adoption of ordinance number 254, series 2007, amendment number 1 relating to flood damage prevention. So if we remember, we had the gentleman, Alex Van Pelt, that presented at our last meeting, good presentation to explain all of this. And so this is our second reading of that. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, roll call.
Squire Hicks?
Yes.
Squire Muse?
Yes.
Squire Pennington?
Yes.
Squire Saltzman?
Yes.
Squire Thompson?
Yes.
Squire Whitehead?
Yes.
Squire Yates?
Yes.
Judge Taul?
Yes, motion passes. All right, brings us to item D. And before we jump into this resolution and voting for it and address this one, I move to go to closed session. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Squire Hicks?
Yes.
Squire Muse?
Yes.
Squire Pennington?
Yes.
Squire Saltzman?
Yes.
Squire Thompson?
Yes.
Squire Whitehead?
Yes.
Squire Yates?
Yes.
Judge Taul?
Yes, motion passes.
Judge, I just wanted to put on the record for the purposes of the public that we're going into closed session to discuss a specific proposal of open discussions would jeopardize the siting retention, expansion, or upgrading of the business. We're allowed to hold that discussion in closed session pursuant to KRS 618101G. And then if there's any decision to be made as the outcome, we would come back out and vote toward item D.
Okay. So we'll go into closed session now. Obviously, you guys are willing to stick around as long as you'd like. We'll come back and have we'll vote on that, and then we'll have our consent agenda, and then we'll wrap up after that with basically with another closed session. So I wish I had some pizza or something I could, but we don't have it. Sorry.
There's a vending machine on the first.
Well, you probably should move to go back in. Let's move to go back in a second, and we'll be back in. So move to go back into open. Yes, just to be sure.
Okay, just to be sure, we will, I move that we end our closed session and,
Second.
Any discussion? You want to take a roll call?
Certainly. Squire Hicks?
Yes.
Squire Muse?
Yes.
Squire Pennington?
Yes.
Squire Saltzman?
Yes.
Squire Thompson?
Yes.
Squire Whitehead?
Yes.
Squire Yates?
Yes.
Judge Taul?
Yes, motion passes. All right, so now we are ready to move on to our next resolution. We are going to vote to approve resolution number 2023-097 related to approve inducement resolution and memorandum of agreement to undertake issuance of industrial revenue bonds for costs related to the Blue Oval SK project. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Squire Hicks?
Yes.
Squire Muse?
Yes.
Squire Pennington?
Yes.
Squire Saltzman?
Yes.
Squire Thompson?
Yes.
Squire Whitehead?
Yes.
Squire Yates?
Yes.
Squire Taul?
Yes.
Sorry, Judge Taul.
Just kind of get on a roll, don't you?
Rolling.
Motion passes. All right, let's move on to the consent agenda. Briefly go through and explain what's in here. The first 5 items are all having to do with financial transfers and claims, paying bills, all the typical stuff. Item F is Resolution 91. That is to approve a bid for a truck for the road department. And then item G is approved resolution number 92. It's related to approve a 2023 Kentucky Waste Tire Collection Agreement with the Division of Waste Management for a grant. Approve resolution 93 is the next item. It's related to approve termination of a contract with Guardian Cleaners LLC. We'll be bringing that work in-house. Item I is approved resolution number 94 related to EMS personnel. These are mostly step changes after 6-month introduction periods. Approved resolution 95 related to coroner personnel. This is again a step change of a deputy coroner. And then this is, item K is approved resolution 96 related to E911 personnel, and that's a new hire. L is approved resolution number 98. This is related to approve Sheriff's Office grant application to the Victims of Crime Act 2023 for funding for a Hardin County Sheriff's Victim Advocate. The last items in there are all approve of two special called finance committee meetings that I mentioned before on April 24th and April 28th, and then also approve Public Works Committee minutes on the 24th.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion?
Judge, I just have one question on the resolution 2023-093, the termination of the Guardian contract.
Yes.
I looked in the packet and I didn't really see anything. I just wanted to make sure that there were no negative aspects on our part of maybe having to buy out that contract, or it was just a free and
No.
clear, we're good to go? Thank you.
Correct. Yes.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know. I just wanted to make sure.
No, good question.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, we have roll call.
Squire Hicks?
Yes.
Squire Muse?
Yes.
Squire Pennington?
Yes.
Squire Saltzman?
Yes.
Squire Thompson?
Yes.
Squire Whitehead?
Yes.
Squire Yates?
Yes.
Judge Taul?
Yes, motion passes. All right, we have some time for comments. We'll start with our county attorney, Jenny Olson. building.
And I'll be really quick, because I know it's been a long meeting. Delinquent tax letters will go out from my office starting tomorrow. So if you get one of those letters, it doesn't get any cheaper. It continues to accrue interest and fees, so I would encourage people to get those paid in full as soon as you can. If you need a payment plan, you can contact the county attorney's office. All that's in the letter. If you're able to pay in full, you would pay that at the county clerk's office. Again, that's in the letter. Some people will also get 911 delinquent fee letters, and that also has instructions on how to get those paid. But it doesn't get cheaper. It gets actually much more expensive, and so pay those as soon as you can. And contact us if you have questions. So thank you,
All
Judge.
right, thank you. I felt bad that I've been leaving out the county clerk on comments, so I'm going to go ahead and open that up for Brian.
Thanks, Judge. I appreciate that. Just briefly, Thursday, May 11th is the first day of early voting. Those will be available Thursday, May 11th, Friday, May 12th, Saturday, May 13th. Hours are 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. We have 2 locations. We'll take you'll have the opportunity to vote either in the clerk's office or for Northern County folks at Colvin Community Center. And primary election day is Tuesday, May 16th. From 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. We've got 10 locations available, and you can go to the county clerk's Facebook page or website to find the location nearest you. These are vote centers, which we've been using the last several years, so you'll be able to choose the location that is most convenient to you.
Great. Is that all?
That's it.
All right, thank you. Magistrate Chris Yates.
Again, North Hardin High School is going to be representing the state of Kentucky at Washington, D.C. At the 4th of July parade. They're hosting a fundraiser on May 13th at North Hardin High School. They're calling it the Golden Gala. It's at 5 p.m. You can get tickets, 1 for $50 or 2 for $90. The point of contact is Maria Battistoni. I'd like to invite all the magistrates and judge and sheriff, elected officials to come out and join us. So that's all I got to say.
All right.
The point of contact is Maria Battistoni, 351-2731.
Thank you. Magistrate Kenny Saltzman.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I just want to compliment and thank AGC for partnering with Hardin County on the E-Scrap event. I drove through there, stopped out, and passed out some Tootsie Rolls to some of the volunteers. And that thing was just rolling smooth. People were just going through there like Chick-fil-A. It was pretty quick. Yeah, so I just want to thank them for partnering with us. And as Stephanie said, we have our free dump day. Is it this Saturday? Yes, this Saturday. Man, time is flying. That's all I have, Judge. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Magistrate Patsy Whitehead.
Yes, thank you. Just want to recognize Friday, May the 12th, as National Provider Day, in particular National Daycare Provider Day. And I just want to recognize all those that take care of our precious children and even those who are not so young. Any provider out there, just want to thank them and recognize them for what they do to help others. Also, I'd like to give a shout out to Lisa Pearman and Vicki Meredith and Judge Taul for guiding and helping us with this budget. You know, 80% of us are new, and it's our first go-round. It's been a challenge. It's been a very learning and enlightening experience, and hopefully next year we'll glide right through it without any kinks. But just want to recognize those folks for helping us and everything that they did to make this as smooth as possible. And then also a reminder for the Resources and Community Support Committee meeting. That is Monday, May 15th, and it's across the hall on the 3rd floor here at 5:30. Welcome you to join us. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Patsy. Obviously, Magistrate Fred Klim is not here, and just we miss him, but we'll see him back soon, I'm sure. Magistrate Aaron Pennington.
I actually have nothing.
All right, thank you. Magistrate E.G. Thompson.
Just an announcement that Glendale will be holding their Spring Fest on Saturday the 20th, May 20th. And the Glendale Lions is hosting a all-you-can-eat pancake breakfast. Come out and see me flip pancakes, and if you need tickets, let me know how many you need, and we'd love to have the entire family. It's a great time to enjoy the Glendale atmosphere. Oh, one other thing that's probably most important. Remember your mother. Mother's Day is Sunday.
Oh, thanks for
and
that.
I just encourage you to express your love and care for your mothers. That's why we're here.
Thank you. Magistrate Larry Hicks.
The only thing I've got, I just want to thank everybody for all the hard work they've done to put this budget together, and Lisa and everybody else, all the committee chairmen, all the people that's on those committees. I just want to personally thank you all. You've done a great job.
Yeah, I'll echo that again. And even though that Magistrate Clem isn't here, he definitely was a big part of that. So definitely want to give him the kudos he deserves for working through it. Magistrate Kenny Muse.
No comments.
All right, thank you. All right, well, that wraps up the comments. Before we move into the next, into the closed session, I'll just say, just a reminder that there's, we have a meeting that, our next fiscal court meeting is when? It is
May 23rd.
May 23rd at 5:30 on Tuesday. So just a reminder of that, and of course, the other committee meetings are all listed in this agenda. Also, for you that want to stay, you're welcome to, but we're going to go in closed session, and then when we come back, the only thing we'll be doing is adjourning. So, so you're welcome to stay if you want. All right, I move that we go into closed session pursuant to KRS 61.8101C, discussions of proposed or pending litigation against or on behalf of the public agency.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, there's a roll call.
Squire Hicks?
Yes.
Squire Muse?
Yes.
Squire Pennington?
Yes.
Squire Saltzman?
Yes.
Squire Thompson?
Yes.
Squire Whitehead?
Yes.
Squire Yates?
Yes.
Judge Taul?
Yes, motion passes.